We've been talking on the YouTube channel about Dragon Age and the future of this franchise. Obviously, guys, over at BioWare, they pulled a number of the developers or a number of the people off of Dragon Age 4 to work on some of their other projects. I believe Anthem was the one that they were working on at the time. And so Dragon Age 4 was kind of put on the back burner for a period of time. Well, now we're starting to get some more information. The rumblings are happening that Dragon Age 4 is under development. So let's talk about everything that we know so far about Dragon Age 4. Let's get into it. So guys, in an article that was written by PC Games, Dragon Age 4 is real and in production at BioWare. We know that much. But when is the Dragon Age 4 release date? Where will the story go next? And which of our favorite characters will return? While BioWare may be tight-lipped about the sequel to Inquisition, a few pieces of the jigsaw puzzle that is their next fantasy RPG are already floating around the internet. So we've had a cryptic teaser trailer about the Dreadwolf, suggestions of a potential multiplayer angle, and heaps of clues to its story contents, courtesy of various interviews and tweets with developers and writers who have worked on previous Dragon Age games. And yet EA and BioWare are insisting on keeping the game's title and release date under wraps for now. But as we'll explain below, the most likely Dragon Age 4 release date is 2022. So as far as the release date is concerned, guys, there's currently no Dragon Age 4 release date as of yet, although Dragon Age 4 has reportedly been in development since 2015, according to a report by Kotaku. The team were repeatedly pulled away to work on BioWare's other games, namely Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem. So I said Anthem, guys, but yeah, they were also working on Andromeda. As a result, the original Dragon Age 4 was shut down. So obviously, the concept of Dragon Age 4, it's hard to say where they were as far as in the development cycle, guys. I mean, were they at just initial concepts, or had they actually begun, development for a while? I would assume so, seeing as how it began in 2015. Development on a new Dragon Age 4 project started up again in 2017, and we may be waiting until 2022 for its release. During the recent earnings call, Blake Jorgensen, EA's financial director, said, "You should assume that there's Dragon Age out there. We've talked about it publicly. That's it in the works. It probably comes after fiscal year 2022. So that may be a while away, but that hasn't stopped the BioWare Dragon Age 4 teases. In the run-up to December, the developer tweeted about Dragon Age 4, or Dragon Age Day, and executive producer Mark Dara also got in on the fun, simple tweeting Dragon Age. The incident passed without much incident, but it did reaffirm that the studio is working on Dragon Age 4 with a lovely tribute to the game's fans. So what I will say is this, guys. Most likely, not only because, Blake Jorgensen said this, coming out after, fiscal year 2022, but on top of that, we also have to remember that, with the pandemic going on in our world right now, it's kind of complicated things in the entertainment industry, whether you're talking from, video games to movies to music, whatever it might be. There, all of these are subject to change as far as the release dates are concerned. And so don't hold your breath at any specific date. I would say that it could come sooner than 2022, but it also is maybe more likely that it goes later into 2022 or even into 2023. So just keep that in mind. The Game Awards 2018 gave us our very first official glimpse at Dragon Age 4 in the form of this brief teaser trailer called The Dreadwolf Rises. The trailer features Solas suggesting the game will take place after Dragon Age Inquisition. We can also spot the lyrium idol that appears in Dragon Age 2, although it's impossible to infer anything from this. So as far as the development is concerned, guys, Dragon Age 4 will be built on the foundations of Anthem's code, which I don't know what you want to take from that. I've said this on the YouTube channel before, guys. Anthem was one of those games that underneath all of the negativity, all of the, bad PR and just underneath all of it is actually a pretty good game in my opinion. But the problem is that it was just consumed by so many problems, bugs, and just, just problems all the way around. And so when you hear something like Dragon Age 4 will be built on the foundations of Anthem's code, it kind of brings a question mark. Now, when we say that, obviously we're talking more so like, from the graphic perspective and things of that nature. So hopefully that's going to be a good thing because Anthem did look good, especially in segments of the game. This may sound like negative to some, as Anthem proved to be a critical disappointment, but it may also give BioWare's team the consistency that they need going forward. Thanks to using Anthem's tech, development on Dragon Age 4 should be more smooth, as devs won't need to start from scratch as is the norm for the studio. Speaking to Kotaku, one anonymous source explains that Anthem might be the kick in the butt that BioWare leadership needed to see that how you develop games has changed dearly. You can't just start fresh and fumble your way forward until you find the fun. That doesn't work anymore. And that is incredibly true. I can't I'm sure that obviously I don't have like insider information, and but just being an outsider, from the outside looking in, you would have to think, guys, that when it comes to game development, even though I don't know a lot about the game development side, that, when you already have the code and things like that in place, it's got to make, making games moving forward a little bit easier for yourself. You already have the code in place. You just kind of do what it is that you need to. And obviously, Anthem and Dragon Age are two completely different games. But, when at least you have the code there, updating, everything may be a little bit easier. And you already have that structure and that foundation there. So on top of that, we know that the project won't be headed up by Dragon Age series creative director Mike Laidlaw. That is because in October 2017, he left BioWare after 14 years with the company. So a thank you tweet to Laidlaw from Dragon Age executive producer Mark Darrah reads, "I'm so excited for you to see what the next Dragon Age will be, confirming that development is certainly underway, something Dragon Age related." And then as far as the story is concerned, guys, while no concrete details of Dragon Age 4's story have been revealed, we do know that Alexis Kennedy, founder of Fail Better Games, has been involved in the game's writing. In May 2017, he revealed that he was working for BioWare on a chunk of story and lore. His plotline is said to be separate from the core story, but more substantial than background lore drops. In short, expect characters with dialogue and backstory. Now, guys, as far as the story is concerned, we could go on about this for ad nauseum, essentially, where we want the story to go. For me, I really... I want them to surprise me. I want there to be surprises in Dragon Age 4, and, whether they're trying to kind of continue the story from Inquisition, or if they're just trying to kind of go in a completely new direction, which I don't know if would be that would be really smart, but regardless of what it is, I just want to kind of see where they, I kind of want them to surprise me in a number of ways with this upcoming installment. I think that's something that's going to be really important moving forward for this franchise. I'd love to hear from you guys, though, in the comment section below. Do you guys want them just to have direct continuations from Inquisition? Do you want them to do somewhat of a prequel? Do you just want it to be in a completely new place with new characters and such? We know how that kind of went when they did Mass Effect Andromeda, which was separate from, of course, the main Mass Effect trilogy. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about that. If you've seen a lot of my work before, you will probably not be surprised by the choice of subject matter. It's familiar stuff, Kennedy told Eurogamer, suggesting there will likely be a strange Lovecraftian feel to his section, or at least a focus on death or loss. Perhaps it will be set in the Fade, Dragon Age's demonic dimension. Aside from that, any details about Dragon Age 4's plot are purely guesswork. After the success of Inquisition, it is a sensible bet that the next game could be a direct sequel as opposed to a largely standalone story set in the same universe as the series has been so far. The end of Inquisition saw trickster elf Solus, revealed to be the god of betrayal, Fen'Harel, disappear, and the Trespasser DLC concluded with the Inquisitor vowing to track him down and stop his plan to destroy the world. It makes sense that a sequel would cast Solus as the key villain and deal with halting his plans to usher in a new age for the ancient elves. So obviously, guys, they could go that way, and I think they probably will. I think that they'll probably just, carry on from where Inquisition left off, because like I said, if we go based on the past with BioWare, they tried to go away from the formula, not completely away from the formula, but away from the original Mass Effect trilogy, and I thought Andromeda was actually decent, but obviously I'm not everyone, and lots of people out there did not enjoy Mass Effect Andromeda like I enjoyed it, and, at the end of the day, it probably is a good idea for BioWare. They've tried it before. It didn't work out. And so now with Dragon Age 4, maybe they just need to make it a direct sequel to Inquisition. Now, the recent The Dread Wolf Rises trailer does offer some context for the new Dragon Age game, as it features Solus we can assume the game will follow on from the events of Inquisition and its Trespasser DLC. Wherever Dragon Age takes us next, we can be certain that the universe has more stories to tell. In August 2017, creative director at the time, Mike Laidlaw, explained in a tweet to a fan that the Dragon Age team had ideas for a theoretical Game 5 and that there is no planned ending for DA. So, that's going to be pretty exciting, guys. I mean, look, if they're going to make even a game after Dragon Age 4, which I'm hoping that they do, something that is really interesting here is Dragon Age 4 multiplayer. With multiplayer increasingly prevalent across the industry, it shouldn't come as much of a surprise that Dragon Age will likely feature some form of multiplayer component. This clue cropped up courtesy of a job listing for a franchise technical director for Dragon Age that requests somebody with experience developing multiplayer games. With no significant multiplayer elements in any of the previous Dragon Age games, this listing looks to apply to the upcoming Dragon Age game. So let's just think about this for a moment, guys. And I talk about the multiplayer aspects of games in general, almost ad nauseum at this point. But just think about this. Those of you who don't want there to be a multiplayer in Dragon Age 4 because maybe it's going to ruin, the game or kind of lose the integrity of BioWare once again after, with Anthem and Mass Effect Andromeda and such. For those of you who look at it and don't think there's any positives come out of Dragon Age, answer this question. After you're done playing the campaign for Dragon Age in the past, right? After you beat it once or twice, or however many times you want to play the campaign, what do you do after you beat the campaign? You typically are going to move on to another game, unless there's more ways in which you can connect with that franchise. And so what I'm getting at is that Dragon Age 4, after you beat the campaign, no matter how long it might be, you may play it another time through to play it on a harder difficulty, or you want to collect, find more collectibles and things of that nature, do all the side missions and such. But then after you're done playing it a couple of times, most likely you're going to move on to another game if there's not more ways to connect with it. So I've always said this, that I feel having more is better than having less. So with Dragon Age 4 in particular, I want to have a great story, but I'd also like to have some multiplayer components to bring you back to the game. Think of Elder Scrolls Online. They decided to go ahead and do that, and there's people that have mixed reactions to Elder Scrolls Online, but Dragon Age Online could be pretty special. And then on top of that, you have other ways in which you're connecting with the franchise, which is what the developers want at the end of the day, is people coming back to the game over and over again, playing with your friends, even playing by yourself, or just playing with other people across the world in a multiplayer component. And I do think that Dragon Age 4 multiplayer, you're going to see the fan base grow over time because of the multiplayer. That's what most people want to do these days anyway. Lots of people don't even want to play these stories anymore, unfortunately. More people want to play multiplayer than they want to play a story. And that's unfortunate. But, me, from a standpoint, when I got into gaming, multiplayer wasn't really a big thing yet. And so the stories are great, and that's why I want there to be a great story from Dragon Age 4, but I also think having multiplayer components and co-op components would absolutely help bring people back to the game, because I'll beat the game one time and then I'll move on to another game. You see, and I think with multiplayer, it's going to bring me back over and over again to play it, especially if it's a decent multiplayer experience. But all in all, guys, this is everything that we know so far about Dragon Age 4. What is it that you guys are most excited to see in Dragon Age 4? And what are you anticipating that they may add or remove? Where do you think the story is going to go? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Dragon Age 4 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.